Welcome to another week of Completion Critiques, where each episode we review a game's completion and achievement rates to see what we can learn about how it engaged with audiences and if there were any major pain points or stumbling blocks that turned people away. We're basing it on those metrics up there. If you'd like to suggest a game for a future show, please get in touch. And if you'd like to vote for future episodes, all Patreon supporters get voting rights. You'll find links to everything down below. But with that said, let's begin. And let's get to The End is Nigh. So this would, I guess, be the second game from M. McMillan following the success of The Binding of Isaac. Of course, the third game being, again, The Legend of Bumbo. The End is Nigh is very different in terms of its structure. It may look just like a copy-pasted sequel to Super Meat Boy, but they feature entirely different physics, as well as a different structure. And this game has a special place in my heart because it begins with a character streaming to an audience of 0. And as somebody who has done that quite regularly in their life, it does, hit home for me on that point. So, let's take a look here. Now, here's the fun part. The end is just the beginning. And then there's also the beginning of the end leading into the end of the beginning. I think he did that just to make this a nightmare. Yep, no wall jumping. So, completing the end is simply just beating level 1. And then these stages are just to get all those lovely tumors, which are then used to unlock even harder stages. So we can say very quickly that 31% of the player base didn't beat the first world of The End is Nigh. And I would hazard a guess that with Super Meat Boy, it may have a similar, if it ever did get a Beat World 1 achievement, it would probably be around that for that game as well. Maybe a little less, just because of how easy that first world is. But as we see here, unlike The Binding of Isaac, the churn is real. We go from 68 to 53 to 45. Then we go to 41. And again, these are collection achievements. These are not actual beating stuff. So we want to be real here. It'll go from 53 all the way down to 29. So between Worlds 2... Oh wait, I'm sorry. 53 to 41 to 29. So from World 2 to World 3, it lost about 12%. And then from World 3 to World 4, it lost, what we say, about 12% more of its player base. 29 to 29. So it's looking like it's stabilizing at 29%. Which I think was actually higher. And let me clear this out. I need to remember to clear this before I move on to the next game. I keep forgetting to do that. So we have 29% churn, or I'm sorry, stabilization is 29. Churn is 71. So that is not good. And again, a lot of what makes The End is Nigh difficult is kind of different from Super Meat Boy. Super Meat Boy is about constant micro adjustments. You have to be constantly tweaking how Meat Boy is moving through the air, holding down run versus not holding it down. And it's very complicated in that respect. The end is Nigh is simpler, but I would say it's a little bit harder. Because everything is built on very fixed jumping angles, it's more about, okay, I need to jump, this way, I need to jump this way, then we have to go back this way. If I don't do those exactly right, or if I'm off, I lose. There's no adjustment in the air in the end is Nigh in a lot of these cases. Yeah. Super Meat Boy is precise, but you have wiggle room. And that's because of how the game is tracking the physics in real time. So that if you do make a jump a little too high, you can try and adjust them in the air. Or if you're coming in too fast, you can try and hold back and, get those lucky saves. End is Nigh is just basically all committed base jumping. And you mess up, or you do it in the wrong way, you're going to lose again, again, again. Oh, especially when you get to the final chapter. So, speaking of the final chapter, this game I think is going to have a very, very low clear rate. So, complete Golgotha, Retrograde, Exodus, and then we get to the future. The future is essentially, one loop in the end is Nigh. Once you be in the future, then you get to the real masochism. And this is where the game gets very painful. Because in the future, you don't have unlimited lives. It essentially turns into 1001 spikes. Which maybe that's another thing we should look at some point. And there's one thing I think people hate, is when you tell them, if you die too many times, you have to restart the whole thing. Even if the game gives you, I think I had like 435 lives in this game. It still was almost barely not enough for me to beat the future. So these achievements right here, these are for clearing the future versions of the levels. So we go 16 to 14. And again, you can see that the clear rates aren't going down that far, because if you're masochistic enough to beat the future or beat the past all the way, then you're probably going to be masochistic enough to keep playing this game to complete these challenges. So we go to Blight, we go to Ruin. Oh god, I can tell you right now, I did not beat the Tower of Ascension. Acceptance. And acceptance is it. Acceptance is beating the future. And I did manage to do that. I am in the 11.4 percentile of beating the end is Nigh. But there's even more beyond that. Keep going down. At least I'm not breaking my fingers too much here. There's bonus challenges, the bonus cartridges, Rubble Bobble. And yeah, I will never do the cartridges deathless and continueless. Yes, screw the cartridges indeed. Hour of Ascension. So this is the ultimate super, you are, uber masochistic achievement. Beat the whole game and beat every cart. 1.2%. I'm surprised more people did this than they did the speedrun achievement. And this one, good on you. If you manage to beat the entire game with less than 200 deaths. And for the people who aren't accustomed to this game or don't know it, 200 deaths is like, 15 minutes you could probably die 200 times in this game? It's just like the Binding of Isaac. You know, start a level, die, 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 go forward, die, jump, die. If you had a drinking game, no one would survive. The end is nigh of death. And I guess this has to be full 100%. Get everything, beat all the cards, beat the entire game. And how the hell did 0.6% of the people manage to do that? I have no idea. What is Iron God in the end is nigh? I'm afraid. Oh, not the end is night. Only one person has it? Oh, God. Here it is. Let's see what people say. Oh my God. Deathless run in the end is nigh. My God. Oh. Yeah. Let me just say this right now. There is no Patreon incentive or donation incentive that would ever get me to do this one on stream. Oh my God. My mind is reeling at the thought of trying to do that. I don't know. I think 0.4% may be too high for this. I wonder if a few people cheated to get that achievement. If anyone who managed to get this achievement is watching this video, leave a comment, because I would like to give you a round of applause. So if we go by the true... So the question is, do we go for acceptance? Or do we go for the future? It's kind of tough in this aspect. If Shark tries it with me, we'll do a duel stream. No, we'll do a race stream. See who can do it first. It'll be the first dual unending stream. So, you know what? Let's go with the future. Let's say clear rate of this game is the future. I know the ending, or the actual credits, is acceptance. But that, I think, takes us into kind of completionist territory. Yeah. So we'll say that the clear rate is 21%. Which, to be fair, gives us a very high core base. And this is, again, what we normally see from challenging games. Huge churn rates, but a high number of people who make it past that will clear it. That gives us 72%. So what this tells us, again, is that when it comes to brutally difficult games like the NS9, maybe I will replay this. I do have a game for tonight besides Library of Ruina. So it's not just going to be all me dying in that game for like 3 hours. But when it comes to games like this, you are going to have high churn. There is always going to be churn that goes this high when we have difficult games. And the NS9 is not a hard game to learn. You know, onboarding is very simple. You run, you jump, and then you die. Run, jump, die. That's the entire loop of the NS9. It's actually in the trailer for this game. So, you're going to be failing a lot in it. But I would argue that, again, that if I'm sorry, not Bind of Isaac, if Super Meat Boy had level or world-based achievements, it probably would have something similar in terms of this churn rate. That if we go over here, that we lose 21% almost within the first 10 minutes. And then we start losing more and more and more. But then once we get past that point, people are like, okay, I've seen this game, I know how it works, I'm in. And again, the thing about the Binding of Isaac from our previous episode, which for those of you watching this record, go watch that. There's your shameless plug. That there's nothing that is really motivation or progression based in the end is Nigh to act as a buffer. You're either going to become a platforming god playing this game, or you're going to quit. There's no bonuses, there's definitely no assist mode in this game. There's just more masochism. And we can see that again. I'm curious. So that if 20.5% beat the game or beat the first loop, it only lost about 4% starting into the loop itself. Yeah, exactly. Again, there is a drinking game for the N is Nigh, just as there's in Super Meat Boy, but no one would survive it. And again, this is the perfect family-friendly game. We could do a apple juice, drinking game, as we talk all about picking up tumors and the apocalypse and death. Ruin. Oh, and don't forget that with Acceptance, when you beat, or the final section of Acceptance, is a timed escape. And I said just as Pony's comment came up as well. Oh, God. And if you die, you then have to repeat the level. Oh, yes. And I will say that Emmett McMillan is one of those developers who's really good at getting a lot of value out of his assets. Because you just repeat the basic level design, you just make it harder, and it's a whole new world. Is Catastrophavania like the super hard level or the super hard card? Or is that just one of them? Did I beat Denial? I'm sure there was a level called Masochism. I beat that. Let me see. I have 31 of the achievements in the End is Nigh. I did beat some of these cartridges. Oh, I collected the Tower of Ascension, but I know I didn't beat it. No, I did not get Denial. Wait a minute. Aren't Denial, Anger, Bargaining, and Depression the bonus tumor challenges? Because I swear that I beat those. Oh, God. Don't forget the bounce physics. When you have to perfectly bounce over those things, and if you're off by just a hair, you're going to bounce off in the wrong angle and die. And the water, and the piranhas, and the missiles. And that one section with the giant tumor mines that kind of like grow when they chase after you. There's just so much lovingness in The End is Nigh. It is a happy game. And if you can beat that, you can say that you rock in terms of, the acid. And here's the fun part, for everyone watching this, right, who's played In Is Nigh, we are giving them like stress headaches and, raising their blood pressure by asking them to remember this. I don't know. I'm pretty sure I beat Denial. Or maybe I'm denying that I beat Denial. And again, I will never get these deathless ones. Maybe continueless, I don't know. The bare minimum. Jeez. Oh, you got 100% of nothing. But I think we'll begin to wrap things up because we are just about at an hour. Well, give or take when I had to run and answer the phone. Yeah, but now I do feel like playing The End is Nigh. I feel like I need to re-challenge myself with this game. And then Pony can live and die vicariously through me. As I do it all over again. And maybe I'll have one person watching me. I'll be a little bit better than Ash. But when we look at pain points in games like this, really just the start of these games is the major pain point. Now, what also makes this a problem, this is something I think we need to discuss, is that we could argue, and I think we could certainly make a case, that having limited lives and even the timer for the final section in acceptance are very annoying. And they're very painful. They would be considered massive pain points. But the problem is that it would be hard to prove that, considering just how little churn there is in this final set of levels. Again, we go from 12.4% to 11.4%. So people would argue with that. There's no problems, it was perfectly fair. But as we've said before, when it comes to UX, the majority of the people who are going to be churned are going to happen within the first 30 minutes of this game, which makes it a lot harder to spot future pain points if you're only talking to your hardcore fans. And I would say that if we wanted to do like a very important study in terms of the UX of The End is Nigh, I would like to know, for those of you who quit the game between between the end and the arid flats, from the arid flats to overflow, and then from overflow to the hollows, why did you quit playing The End is Nigh at those points? Because these are the major dips, as we can see. So, while 21% of the player base wasn't interested in The End is Nigh at all, there were still elements that stopped those people who did learn this game from continuing to play it, as we can see right here. But once you get past the hollows, it becomes stable. So the people who made it to the hollows were just basically like, I'm amazing at this game, I'm not going to stop playing it. And we can see again that hardcore mindset kind of pushing through to beating these final challenges. And as another question, for those of you who did beat The End is Nigh, what are your thoughts on the live system for the second loop? Are you for that kind of design, and are you against it? And as a backup question, what did you think of 1001 Spikes? Which that one just literally tells you have 1001 lives. But I still don't like having that, counter over my head letting me know that if you die this many times, the entire game is over. And again, to the people who beat this all the way through, good job on you. Acceptance. And to whoever did get Iron God, how much hair did you rip out to do that achievement? Yeah. And again, it's the perception of the punishment, not so much the punishment itself, that can ruin people's thoughts and their impressions on these games. like with Dark Souls and Sekiro, that the Dark Souls punishment, it's not horrible in terms of, it's just beating you when you're down. But the thought of losing progress, of, going from here to here, and hopefully I did that right in terms of the reflection of my window here, yeah. From there to there, that can feel like just being stabbed in the back in terms of your thought process. And it's why for a lot of these games that they don't want you to linger on the punishment. Again, with Super Meat Boy and with the end is Nigh, death is basically this: die, restart, die, restart, die, restart. And like we said, you can lose like 40 lives in like 10 seconds of playing this game. But I think with that, let's wrap things up this week for our live version of the show. And again, if you want to watch these shows live, I do them around 4 p.m. ET on Tuesdays. And then I turn them into the little mini episodes that I'm hoping a few of you are watching right now. If you are new, check out our Discord and Patreon. If you'd like to vote for future live episodes, all Patreon supporters get to cast their votes for which games I cover next. And if you suggest a game for me to cover for a future show, please let me know in the comments. Come back for daily discussions on game design here and on Game Wisdom, where is in the art and science of games. And until next time, take care.